Hi, and welcome to a very special edition of Cooking with Christy, or if you're family, Cooking with Cricket. Today we have a holiday special of holiday treats. We're going to be making old time potato candy, dates back to the Great Depression, and the good old Christmas crack. Christmas crack a few ways: pretzels, butter crackers, Ritz crackers, and saltine with four different kinds of little toppings. So get that toothbrush ready. You're going to need it when we're done with this. And let's get cooking. Before we start getting cooking, let's be like Mr. Rogers and take off our sweater and change into our outfit. Take off our sweater and let's put on our apron. Okay, now let's begin. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we are going to get our potato cooking. I'm just going to stab it a bunch of times, throw it in the microwave for about 8 minutes-ish until it's super soft. And then I got to take it out and I'm going to cut it open and then let it cool, because for our potato candy, we need it completely cooled. So I'm going to do this first so that can be hanging out and cooling. And then we will start working on our Christmas crack while we wait. Okay, first we are going to, got a little cookie sheet. We're going to cover it with parchment paper, and we're going to lay out our crackers and our pretzels and everything we're going to use first off, and then we'll pop back to the stove and we will do our, I forgot my butter. Anyway, we'll do our butter, melt our butter and our 1 cup butter, no, half cup butter, 1 cup brown sugar, get that all melted, and then we pour that onto, well, melt the butter, add the brown sugar, cook it all together, cook it for like a boil it for a solid 3 minutes, and then we'll take it off the heat. We'll add our vanilla and our dash of salt, and then we pour it over our crackers. So we want our crackers, pretzels, whatever our bottom base is going to be, we want that ready. So then when that's done, we can just, keep it going. Anyway, so let's get our pan prepped. Now, I could not find saltine. I just went to the dollar store to pick up a couple things, but I had a few packets of the single serve saltine crackers. So I think there's 3 in each. So we're just going to use what we have. It's just kind of like a little sampling anyway, so I don't need a whole bunch. You can do all of Ritz crackers, all saltine, all salt, or this buttery cracker like a Keebler, or all pretzel, or any variation, or anything else. I mean, I don't know. Make it your own. If there's some different kind of cracker you like, or a little cookie or shortbread cookie even, maybe. Whatever, you do what you want. So I'm going to make like 4 corners, four different things. We'll sample this platter. Look at that. I won't even need them all. You could use a bigger sheet pan. Oh, my potato needs to be flipped. Anyway, you can use a bigger sheet pan, but we are just doing, like I said, a little sampling. Just a little of everything. Here. think I'm going to, since these are kind of the same shape, I'm going to do them corner to corner. Some Ritz. Let me bring it closer so you can see what I'm doing. Perfect. Now all of our crackers. And then we're gonna make the caramel. We're gonna pour it over, and then I'm gonna sprinkle the top with chocolate chips. Pop that back in the oven and let it soften, and then we'll take an offset spatula and spread it over the toffee. And then we're gonna, well, before we do that, we're gonna grind up some peanuts. And then I have some little like M&Ms, little chocolate candies that I'll break up a little bit. Then we're gonna melt some sea salt caramel and drizzle over, and then melt a little white chocolate and drizzle over. So each cracker will have a different little topping. Okay, our potato is cooked, nice and soft. We're gonna set it aside and let it cool. Actually, I'm gonna split it open, let it cool. Now we only need a half a cup of mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna make sure that this potato is big enough to measure out a half a cup. And then we'll let the mashed potatoes cool while we finish the crack. Okay, our half a cup of mashed potatoes. Gonna put that out, flatten it out so it can cool quicker. Now you can microwave your potato, you can boil your potatoes, you can use leftover mashed potatoes. You just want to make sure they're plain. They're not the zhuzhed up dinner mashed potatoes with butter, milk, sour cream, all that stuff. You just want plain mashed potatoes. Okay, and set that aside and let it cool. Okay, so before we get going on the caramel, we're gonna crunch up our peanuts and our little chocolate candies. We'll do a finer chop for the peanuts and then just do a rough chop for the little chocolate candies. And I'm not going to worry about cleaning it out before I put these candies in. That'll be fine. Well, that didn't quite work out as well as I thought it would. Guess I'd have to give it a rough chop with the knife. See, they're still fairly large. Well, actually, oh, hello. Maybe I'll just crush them up more and then make it more of a finer chocolate dust. Who knows? We'll see. Well, that's fine. It'll work. We'll just give it a little sprinkle. There's a few little chunks. So it'll be fine. I mean, nobody really cares that bad. Okay, now let's pop over to the stove and make our caramel. Okay, we're going to kick our stove on, our burner on, our heat on to medium, and put in our 2 cups of butter. Now, if you were using margarine, you would use a half a cup, so 1 stick. But since we're using butter, we are using 2. Something about the fat content and the water, moisture, something like that. Anyway, 1 cup of brown sugar. Butter. Jeez. And then we have our 1 cup of brown sugar waiting for this to melt a little bit. Oh yeah, we also need to melt our chocolate, our white chocolate, and our salted caramel chips. Almost forgot. I'm going to mix it together and let them start melting at the same time. And since the microwave is just right above the stove, I'm going to melt, well, I guess I should wait. I'm going to wait because if I melt them now, they'll probably harden back up by the time we need them. So they're on standby waiting. Waiting patiently and liking it. Okay, we're just going to slowly melt this. And then once it's all melted and incorporated, it will start to come to a boil. And when it starts boiling like a simmering, vigorously rolling boil, we're going to boil it for 3 minutes. Then we're going to take it off the heat and then do the salt and vanilla. Okay, so as you can see, maybe can you see? It is starting to boil. And we're going to, let's see. I want it to be boiling pretty good before we start the timer. Okay. I'm going to start the timer. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. And I'm just going to kind of continuously stir it. We have our oven already preheated to 350, waiting to go. We have our chocolate chips in the two cup measuring cup, ready to pour on when this comes out. Okay, we have 1 minute left, so I'm going to move you guys back over to the island, ready for this to be poured on. Okay, I'm going to take it off the heat. We're going to add our half a teaspoon of salt. Stir that in. and our half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm using vanilla paste. Stir that in. Wow, smells amazing. Okay, now we're just going to try to evenly spread this over all of our crackers and pretzels. Give it a smooth it out a little bit. You don't have to get it like worried too much about it being perfectly smoothed out and over everything, because we're going to pop it in the oven and it is going to melt and bubble up and pretty much just cover itself. It'll do the work. We just give it a little boost. Okay. Just pop this in the oven and we're going to put it in the oven for 5 minutes. While that is baking for 5 minutes, we're going to melt our white chocolate and our sea salt caramel chips. We can use those to drizzle. You see how that's all bubbly? That's how you want it vigorously bubbled and it's spread all over. That's what we're talking about. But see what I mean? It spread all the way to the edges. My little pretzels kind of popped up a little bit, but we'll just push them back down, get them back in line. So that'll be fine. Now we are going to sprinkle our chocolate chips, our 2 cups of chocolate chips, just kind of evenly over, and then we're going to throw them back in the oven for a few minutes to melt the chocolate. And then we'll take our offset spatula and smooth it out, and then we'll throw on our toppings. Okay, back in the oven she goes. All right, couple minutes in the oven. Oh yeah. Smooth out your chocolate. It's fine if it moves some of that caramel around. It's all going to the same place. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around because this is how I set them up. So I think we'll go, what do we have? Saltines, butter, Ritz, and pretzels. Do a little bit of the chopped peanuts. Do a little white chocolate. We'll do the caramel, maybe with the pretzels. And then our little candy chunks on the Ritz. Chocolate on chocolate. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and, I wish I had like flaky finishing salt. I cannot find that stuff anywhere. I'm going to just sprinkle just a little pinch of salt over it all. Don't forget, salt over the left shoulder. Good luck. And here she is, Christmas crack. Now we're just going to put this on the back counter and let it hang out and cool completely while we get the potato candy going. So before this is completely cooled, it's still warm, not hot, but I'm going to go around and break it off. Nope, don't want to do that. I'm going to go around and break it off the sides of the pan. That way when I go to lift it out, it's not stuck. Kind of like this. So when I get the parchment paper and I pull it out, it will come off. There's just a few places that I'm going to run my knife along the edges and a few places that I've stuck just to make it easier. Actually, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off of the pan and set it on this cookie sheet or this cutting board to finish cooling. Where'd my knife go? I don't know. There. That way, not to worry about it sticking as it cools. There we go. Now we'll finish letting that cool. We'll come back and crack it. Okay, yeah. Let's make potato candy. Got the vanilla. We got our half a cup of potato. We got our powdered sugar, measuring cups, bowl. You can use a stand mixer. You can use a hand mixer or a stand mixer with the paddle attachment. But I think I'm just gonna use this hard spatula and then work it in, and then so I can knead it because you're gonna want it to be like a Play-Doh consistency. So we got all of our components, but I'll go ahead and bring you closer so you can see what we're doing. Okay, we are going to combine our 2 tablespoons of softened butter to our 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Wait, is this teaspoon or tablespoon of butter? Tablespoon, yeah, 2 tablespoons, 1 teaspoon. Again, I'm using vanilla bean paste because I don't have any vanilla. Now, the original recipe dates back to the Great Depression. And this candy is so nostalgic. It just reminds me of my grandma. Now I have 2 recipes. I have one with the vanilla and the butter. And I have one, and I don't know if this is the original one or how it used to be made or what, but it's strictly peanut butter, mashed potatoes, and brown sugar. That's it, 3 ingredients. So back in the day, you know, these women did what they could. They did what they could with what they had. So I don't know which culinary genius came up with potato candy, but hats off to her. I feel like it's a lost art. Like a lot of kids don't even know what potato candy is. People my age, maybe a little bit younger, they know, especially if they have older people in their life that cook or bake. Talk about the good old days. But I feel like nowadays these kids are kind of, everything goes in circles, trends, clothes, all that good stuff, music. And now I feel like vintage and old school stuff and 80s and 90s and all that kind of things are back in style. So hopefully we can reincarnate the good old days, the good old recipes. Okay, so my butter and vanilla is mixed. I'm going to add in my half a cup of cooled mashed potatoes. I'm going to mix that up. And it doesn't call for it, but at this point I am going to add just a pinch of salt because it's so sweet, because it's 90% powdered sugar. That way it will help kind of cut. Oh no, I think my potatoes are a little not completely smooth. I knew I should have boiled it. You can boil your potatoes, just make sure that you A, don't boil them too long, B, boil them long enough, and C, make sure they're dry. So like after you boil them, dump them out and put them back in the hot pan and kind of toss them around in the hot pan to kind of dry them off. So then you can get a nice smooth mashed potato, because once you start adding the sugar, it becomes a nice smooth consistency, and you don't want lumpy mashed potatoes because then you'll have lumpy potato candy. So I'm just going to keep working this a little bit more to make sure all my lumps are out, and then we'll come back once I'm satisfied and lump free. Okay, it's been a couple minutes and I'm satisfied. This is as good as it's going to get for now. Now I'm going to start adding the powdered sugar 1 cup at a time. And you will see when this powdered sugar hits this thick consistency, it turns it into liquid. How? I don't know. It's magic. So anyway, we are going to start adding our powdered sugar 1 cup at a time, and it can take anywhere from 4 to 6 cups. Then we'll need a little extra for rolling it out and stuff, for dusting. And this is probably where the stand mixer, hand mixer would come into play, come in handy, until you get to a certain point, and then you'd have to just do it by hand and then kind of knead it. But trying to do things old school here. And I don't really remember my grandma using a mixer. And as this continues to get mixed all in, you'll see starting to loosen up, and turn slightly, dare we say, watery? I mean, you can hear it. Remember how ploppy it was before? Now, look. And each time it will get runnier and runnier, and it will get super runny, and then as we continue to add the powdered sugar, it will tighten back up. So trust the process. This is number 2. Get that all mixed and incorporated in. Ooh. Incorporate our 2nd cup completely. Now, if you just used regular vanilla paste, or not vanilla paste, just regular vanilla, you wouldn't have, I don't know if you can see, but if you can see the little specks of vanilla bean, which I like. Kind of, it will be like a little spin, my take on what we grew up with, because honestly, I don't think my grandma put the butter and vanilla in. I mean, maybe sometimes she did, but I think sometimes she didn't, because I remember it just being super white. So this is kind of off colored, maybe because the paste is so dark. And you can get white vanilla, but, or like clear vanilla, but I know she didn't have that. So who knows? It's always difficult when you get to a certain age and you wish you had them to ask, but sadly she passed when I was 16. And now that I'm 107, I wish I could ask her questions. And my mom and my aunt, the two people that I feel like would know, are also sadly gone. So I feel like it's important to kind of pull in these old school traditions for my kids to keep that tradition alive, so they know. I mean, they don't have to make it their tradition and always do it, but they'll be familiar with it at the very least. And they'll think of me, they'll know it came from my mom, they know it came from my grandma, and probably before that, I'm sure. So generational knowledge, generational culinary knowledge. Now, this is starting to thicken up nicely. How many cups did we put in? 3? Yeah, I think I just put in the 3rd cup. Number 4. Four cups is pretty close to where we want it to be. Now she's a big blob. She's still sticky, so we're going to go in with 5 and see where we are. See if it's still if it's a little tacky and I can work in some powdered sugar by kneading it, then that's what we'll do. Five. Oh, you know what I should have used? Maybe I should have used my dough hook, like the sourdough hook spatula. Guess I really should think out these videos more before I just hop on here and do it. But like I said, this is real life. It's a real functioning household. When I show you the food I make, that's really our dinner. You'll see kids come and go, people come and go. You'll hear things in the background. Sometimes I look a mess. So we're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to be real. So now that this is this crumbly consistency, I am going to scrape it off, and I'm going to just start kneading it with my hand. Kneading in this powdered sugar and do it kind of like a Play-Doh. See how it's not sticking to my hands? It's a little tacky when you feel it, but it's not sticking. That's where we want it. Okay, I am going to clean off this area and put a large piece of parchment paper down and get our powdered sugar so we can get this flattened and rolled out. I have a large piece of parchment paper rolled out here, probably larger than I'm going to need, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm going to liberally sprinkle powdered sugar on my parchment paper. Also, a little on the potato candy ball, and my rolling pin. I'm kind of going to smash this out kind of with my hands to a rectangle to just help the process. Oh man, should tape. You know what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to tape down my parchment paper so it doesn't keep sliding around. There, let's see. Okay. Well, I didn't want to use like packing tape, like really super sticky tape, but maybe we'll just have to take a gentler approach. Okay, clearly not the way to go. Remember what I said? Witness all my successes and fails. Fail. Oops. Patch that back up. I think I may have added just a smidge too much powdered sugar in my dough. Or because of it being a paste and not a liquid vanilla. But that's okay. It'll still be good. Now you can trim this so it's perfectly square, perfectly rectangular. I don't know if I'm gonna. You want to kind of roll it thin because you're going to spread peanut butter on it, and then we're going to roll this up. So if you have it too thick, then you're going to have a big old fatty piece of potato candy because we're going to roll it up and then cut it like a cinnamon roll. So a nice even layer, it's good. I feel like my middle is a little thicker. Okay. I think we're going to call that good. I think I am going to kind of, since it is kind of uneven, I'm going to cut off and make it semi-straight. Just to make life easier. I think I'm going to worry about the ends because I'll just, oh, I guess I could. All right, might as well. And this, I mean, if you have little kids, you could give them this and roll it back out and be like, here you go. here's yours. And then they can make some, and then you could have your pretty one to serve to guests. Now comes our peanut butter. Holy moly. Ooh. We're going to give this a thin, let me move this out of the way. We're going to spread a thin layer of peanut butter over it. You're just going to want to leave a little bit along the edge here. You can go end to end, but leave a little bit from the side to side. Because this is what's going to make the spirals when we roll it up. A nice thin layer. Okay. Okay, moment of truth. Let's get to rolling. I also have, I'm going to keep my dough scraper out, because if I need to loosen it up from the parchment paper, I can. But we're also going to use the parchment paper as a guide to help fold it over and roll it. Ooh, it's a little crumbly. It's a little dry. That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. And I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure if where you live, the humidity, the sea level, all that stuff, I'm not sure if that plays a factor in how much powdered sugar you're going to need, all that good stuff. I'm not sure. I wish I guess, could have researched, be a little bit more scientific about it. Okay. Get rid of this excess. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to roll this. I'm going to squeeze it, form it, pull it a little bit. I'm going to form it into a little log. I mean, it was a little log. It was just a little wonky log. And then we are going to roll it in this parchment paper and put it in the refrigerator or the freezer. I'm going to trim off some of this because it's a little too big. It's a little too long to. So I want some ends because I'm going to twist up the ends. But I want to be able to get a nice roll. I'm going to kind of form it into a ball, into a circle, in a nice tight roll while I roll it. Give it a little twist. Give it a little twist. And there you have it. I'm going to throw it in the oven. I'm going to throw it in the refrigerator for about 45. Actually, you can either throw it in the freezer for about 45 minutes or put it in the refrigerator for about an hour and a half. So I'm actually going to chuck this in the freezer for 45 minutes and then we'll come back for the unveiling. Okay, time's up. Let's get our potato candy out of the freezer and let's pull our crack over here and get to cracking. I think I left the potato candy in a little too long. It's a rock hard. So I'm going to let this sit and thaw out a little bit while we'll just work on our Christmas crack. We'll get that all done and then let this come to room temp. Good old wet paper towel trick. Okay, there's different ways you can do this. I think, oh, mine is still a little tacky. I think I'm going to throw this in the refrigerator for a minute to get it hard because it's not quite, some parts are, but this middle portion right here must be the chocolate or the chocolate and the caramel thicker, but let's throw it in the refrigerator and harden it up a little bit. Okay, so while we wait for our crack to finish hardening up, let's see if we can cut through this frozen potato candy. Oops. Oh, well, you can, looks great. Let me take this off and let me bring you closer. This is encouraging. Okay. I'm gonna give this, yes. Perfect. Now this is super sweet. So we're gonna cut them fairly small, or not small per se, but this way you get a nice little bite size. And actually, honestly, cutting it a little frozen is much better than it being softer because then it gets squishy because it's, well, you saw the dough, how it was, it's like Play-Doh. So with it being frozen, it's a little easier to cut. It holds its shape. Gonna cut off those crazy parts. And if you see, because remember we used the vanilla bean paste, you can see the vanilla bean speckles. And all of this, as you see, was 1/2 cup of potato. 1/2 cup of potato, mashed potato, and 1/2 cup, no, what did we use? 2 tablespoons of butter and 5 cups of powdered sugar and a dash of vanilla. But remember, you can do this with just potato, powdered sugar, peanut butter. All of this. So let's put it on a little tray. These would be great too. I don't know if you thrift, you can find those little metal cookie tins for dang near a dime a dozen at the thrift store, or you can get them at the Dollar Tree. You can get them very inexpensive, but they put a little parchment paper, put these down. These would be a great little cookie exchange, little candy, little, little treat to set out or give to your neighbor or your postman or whoever you want to give something to. A little homemade sweet treat. Well, I guess I made my outer circle too big. Go in a little bit. Oh my gosh, just look at that. Man, I can almost just hear my grandma yelling, "Sparky!" Brings me back. And there you have it. Old-fashioned potato candy. Let's try it. You're kidding me right now. It's almost making me want to cry. Instant nostalgia. Melts in your mouth. It's very sweet, so that's why you want to cut them small, thin, because one piece of candy will do. So good. If you don't try anything this holiday season, try making potato candy. Okay, let's get our Christmas crack out of the refrigerator and see how hardened up it is. Okay, let's pull the parchment off. Oh no, they're ripped. There's still a few places that are a little soft, so I think you can when it's hardened, you can like drop it and it cracks into pieces. I guess hence the name Christmas crack. But I think actually I'm just going to take a knife and cut it into sections, cut it into pieces. You can make them as big or as small as you want. I think I may leave some. They're fairly different sizes. Let me bring you closer and show you. You can see some are big, some are small, some are even smaller. But then you'll be able to see what the cracker is. Yeah, I can't really see the pretzel. Guess maybe a little bit. So let's get a little platter for this and we will put it on. You can, I'm not sure what I want to do. I think I'm going to leave them kind of together. Whoa, that's a big piece. And that's a little piece. I'll put them in whatever flavor they are, put them together that way. you kind of know once you figure it out, you can, let's see, you can just go through and break it. Oh yeah, see, look, it broke the whole Ritz cracker. I'm going to cut these big ones up a little bit. Nobody needs that big of a piece. And there we have it. Christmas crack. Okay, taste test time. I am going to try the pretzel and the Ritz. This one is still a little soft. Mmm. Now, I will say, these Trader Joe chocolate chips I use said that they were milk chocolate. I don't think so. Maybe I need to look at the package again. It tastes a little bit in between milk and dark chocolate. So they really help cut down that like super sweet taste. But I think initially I was missing that milk chocolate, like chocolatey taste. So I think if I made these again, I would make sure I use more of a milk chocolate or did half, did some of this kind of semi-sweet chocolate and then the other half milk chocolate. But it is good. It does go really well with the sweet caramel and stuff, kind of balances out the flavor. So it's a good one. It's a keeper. I hope you try it. Let me know. Let me know how yours turn out and what toppings you used. Put a picture in the comment. I'd love to see it. So there you have it. 2 fun, easy, simple, inexpensive, old school family favorites. I encourage you this holiday season to think back nostalgically to your childhood. What used to be on your holiday Christmas table, your holiday food table, your holiday festive table? Recipes you remember eating as a kid or your grandma making that you don't necessarily make anymore or you have forgotten about. Let this be a spark to walk down memory lane. And I encourage you and invite you to reenact them, bring them back. Let's show our youth the ways of the past, whether you make Jello fruit mold salad or holiday punch. Even if the kids don't even like it or eat it, at least they'll be familiar with it. They'll know when someone talks about it or they see it probably in a textbook learning at school back in the days, the olden days, the history, ancient history class. And if you can't afford to make something that nobody's really going to like or eat, talk about it. Talk about what you used to do. Talk about what you remember as a kid. Things like nuts. I remember, oh my gosh, I remember as a kid receiving a stocking from family with nuts and oranges in it. Nuts. The nuts you have to crack, like almonds and walnuts and all those kind of Brazilian nuts. All these nuts you have to crack and oranges. That's what you used to get in stockings back in the day. So, and I remember having bowls. Oh, let me show you. Bowls of nuts sitting around. Comes in a little something like this with a little nutcracker. And you get a nut, crack it, like you have candy and stuff sitting around. They would have bowls of nuts sitting around for you to crack. Now, I got to figure out how to put this thing back. Filled with nuts. Crack nuts you have to crack. Kids nowadays don't know nothing about that. But let us be the ones to bring them in, to bring it back to the basics. That's my motto this year, is bringing it back to the basics. Share with your kids the things that you love the most about growing up. And if you had a hard time growing up and you'd rather not really remember it, share with your kids what you would like to have had happened. And if you're making new memories for your kids, that's great. Because it is true, children are our future. So thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been quite the walk down memory lane. From my family to yours, happy holidays.